Podcasting from downtown Brooklyn at the Brooklyn Bridge Park, Pier number 2. This is the Brooklyn Baritone Podcast. Good morning, everybody. As usual, it's morning when I'm cutting these productions. Whenever you choose to listen to this, of course. Morning, afternoon, evening, nighttime, late at night, afternoon. I always appreciate the looks, the likes, the listens. But of course, I would always most definitely appreciate you hitting that subscribe and notification bell on my YouTube channel, Brooklyn Baritone. But of course, no pressure. Well, let me tell you a little something about complacency, man. Complacency will allow you to just not be the best version of yourselves or ourselves collectively. So kind of piggybacking off of my last podcast, Deinstitutionalize Yourself, and also even an older one that's called, what's the name of it again? Unlearn What You've Learned. I could tell you a thing or two about complacency and allowing that to not bring forth my best effort, because complacency is something that will cause you to be comfortable, just to be legit secure in how you currently are. Now, a lot of people, they have it in them to always strive to do their best and put their best foot forward. And it's not just for themselves, but also for people around them. So the thing that we have to understand is that we have to come outside of ourselves. For the people who struggled, people who still are struggling, people who have struggled, one of the best things that you can possibly do is come out of your comfort zone of thinking that you're good, you don't need to change anything. Chances are there are some things that you could improve on. For me, for example, there's so much things that I know I would probably procrastinate here and there. I'll have my seasons of stuff. There's some things that people have told me that I need to manage my time better. And there's some things that I needed to learn about myself to know. Like, I'm not probably the most mild-mannered person all the time. There are times when people have told me that's close to me, like, hey, man, you're coming across kind of aggressive. And to me, I'm like, no, I'm not. But then when I actually looked at how people responded to me, when I actually saw certain patterns of how people moved around me, talked to me, responded to me, I had to take stock into that. In order for you to become a better version of yourself is not changing yourself just so you can fit in. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is actually taking stock in how you impact any situation that you're a part of, any environment that you're a part of. Are you helping things or are you hurting things? This is a theme that I commonly touch on because we're all supposed to be just not in this together, but we're supposed to be very aware of our impacts that we have on people close to us and our loved ones, and even people who we may not ever even really know like that in life. Complacency is the thing that will cause you to go down a path of destruction, a path of mediocrity, of mediocre life, because you're never putting yourself forward. And that, of course, has some things to do with, how you were raised with certain things. That's why I'm touching base with my last podcast, where we learn just to basically move a certain way, but we're not really taught to tap into what's really us, or not really look into the bigger picture of how we impact everything and everyone around us. We have to understand that we affect everything and everyone around us every single time that even when we wake up and we're probably in the house by ourselves. You can probably stay inside, but guess what? There's someone that could have benefited from your presence. We have to look at it like that. Even if some people, they go through so much of these emotions. And a lot of people don't realize that who commits suicide. They don't realize their proper impacts, unfortunately, because we're kind of trained to always look at the negative. I think that's a part of our broken human nature, where regardless of what you do, so many people will still only point out the negative things. And we can be the harshest critics of our own selves, where we can derail our own trajectory. We could be on the way to doing great and grand things, but then we feel we're not good enough, or we feel that we're only as good as our last screw up. And there's so much more to life. And unfortunately, you have to take stock into your own self, understand how you impact everyone, and be realistic with yourself. Not pessimistic, not overly optimistic. Even though it's great to be optimistic, to learn to look for opportunities and take advantage of these opportunities. But you also have to understand the opportunities that you can probably make. You have to see, again, if it's helping or if it's hurting. We can't afford to be mediocre. We have to understand to look outside of ourselves, so we're not complacent, so that we have to take a humble approach outside of our own heads and see, how have I can contribute? How have I contributed? I'm not saying it properly. What's going on? I didn't contribute as much as I could have, or I could have contributed a whole lot. There you go. I got the word properly. We have to take real stock, and we have to understand, hey, maybe we could do a little bit more. We could always improve. There's always a road to improve ourselves. Can't afford to be complacent. If you need to unlearn what you got to do, it's going to take time. It's going to take humility, but you have to break out of that. And even if you are doing great things, understand that you are very valuable, but also there are other people that are valuable, and there's valuable lessons. So we can always look to see, how can we improve ourselves? How much more can we help? How much less can we hurt things around us? Don't be complacent. That's what I want to talk about. Anyways, if you want to catch the rest of my content, you could always look at my website, www.brooklynbaritone.com. You can also check out my merchandise to see if there's something there for you. I'm pretty sure there's something there for anybody. You could also catch me on my YouTube channel, Brooklyn Baritone. I'm also found on LinkedIn under Corey Ashley. I'm also on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook. You can also catch the audio versions of this podcast on Google Podcasts, iTunes Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music under Podcasts. I also broadcast on local cable television, Brooklyn, of course, 4 times a week. That's on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 a.m. and 2 p.m. on RCN, Spectrum, Verizon, and Optimum. I want you guys to be safe, walk good, be blessed. You'll hear from me next week. I am out.